Hello, I'm Ian Shaw. I'm the Stormwater Manager and Acting Director of Public Works for the City of Roanoke. And in Public Works, we've looked at the development of our Equity Action Plan as an opportunity to look at our overall culture and how we can make sure that we provide a great place to work for our staff while also providing a high level of service to our community. So our Equity Action Plan was developed by a diverse group of our staff. So it was myself, the division manager, some of our project managers, some maintenance supervisors, as well as a couple of crew leads, and really trying to make sure we had a diverse input into that planning process. And from there, we really came up with 5 actions that we're looking at. So part of that was really looking at employee engagement and mission, make sure we have a great place to work, employee development for our staff, looking at how we develop public works specific recruiting strategies, and then some master planning and intentional engagement for how we do work with the community. And then the last is sort of a catch-all of just other items, or making sure that we're ready to seize opportunities as they come along that maybe aren't expected, but if something comes along, we want to make sure we're ready to jump on it. So that's kind of where we are as far as the overall plan. And then for implementation, we have had some quick wins. So everybody always likes quick wins. So one of the big ones, just right out of the gate, when we first had our meeting with Public Works, we really have 4 independent divisions that do operate together, but also have very different work and missions that we do. So one of the things that we decided right out of the gate is we really need to focus this plan on being at the department level, and really need to look at how we just would break down silos going forward, and really work as a cohesive department rather than as the 4 divisions. So that was kind of not necessarily an equity item, but just I think a nice starting point for the work. And along those lines, one of the first things we did is develop an engagement and equity, diversity and equity survey for our staff, which we rolled out in the fall and through the holidays. Some other quick wins from that: we developed a mission statement for our department, which is creating and maintaining the critical infrastructure that sustains our city, the place we call home. We've also participated in 5 job fairs in the fall and in the spring, so that's helped us with definitely some staff recruiting and filling some gaps in our staff. So we have had some new diverse staff growing, mostly at the frontline level, but that's definitely been nice for us with this current workload and whatnot. On the seizing opportunity side, Luke Pugh has worked with Human Resources, Purchasing, and other departments to really look at this Title VI compliance plan for VDOT, which is really how we're using federal funds for highway projects, just how we make sure that we're engaging the community appropriately, and also looking at opportunities to engage with small, women-owned, or minority-owned businesses. So while that work is focused particularly for VDOT, it does give us a stepping-off point for how we can use those principles for all of our work. So that was kind of a nice, just kind of that opportunity requirement came along. Let's make sure we jump on it and do a good job of it so we can use that going forward. Another quick win on the master planning front, our engineering department or division in Public Works, they have a streetscape project they're looking to do on Mormon Avenue in the Gilmer neighborhood. That street happens to parallel Trout Run, so our stormwater division is also very interested in how we look at water quality improvement. So there's an opportunity to kind of combine some resources to come up with a good streetscape that also includes some green infrastructure, and also a time for us to go ahead and engage with the community before we start applying for grant funds. We can run through the plan with them, talk about what we're looking to do, make sure they're in agreement with the green infrastructure element, and also start opening up the door for maybe have some broader conversations about the floodplain in that neighborhood that runs along Trout Run, because there are homes and businesses that are in the flood zone there. So how do we have a broader conversation? I think we've been successful in talking about this initial project and opening up the door for some further discussions on floodplain management there. So that's definitely a good thing. I guess a big deep dive for us has been looking at the staff growth and development. That's really a big item for us. One of the things in Public Works is across the board we are a diverse department, but most of our diversity is at our frontline level. So one of our goals has been how do we help develop our staff and grow so they can move up, and as they move up, then we would see some of that diversity spread through the department. Which sounds simple on the front end. One of the things we did find from our engagement survey, some of the good things we found was that our staff, they do like their immediate co-workers. There's a sense of trust and support from their immediate supervisors. We are also then finding there's gaps between our frontline staff and upper management. We're also finding some issues with accountability and kind of holding people responsible, whether it's our staff or even some degree is our management doing what they're supposed to be doing. But I think then the more alarming thing that we had found is that only about half our staff feel like they have a chance to advance, and really only about a third of our staff feel like advancement and promotion opportunities are fair. So if we're looking at that as a main way to improve diversity and our staff don't feel like they either have a chance to advance or those chances aren't fair, that's a pretty big thing that we need to work on. So that's really the last 2 or 3 months has really been where a lot of our focus has been, is working with the group that's working on the equity plan, as well as with all our supervisors, just talking about the results of the surveys, making sure that they make sense. Do we miss anything? then really starting to step into then what's equity look like for our department, especially we're talking about staff growth and staff development. So we presented all those findings to our staff in our safety meetings and staff meetings in April. Didn't necessarily get a whole lot of questions on this. We're right now in the process of going back and having small group discussions in each of our work areas, really to make sure that our staff, kind of understand what we're talking about, make sure they've had the opportunity to express questions and their concerns. And we're really finding two kind of overarching principles when it comes to how we look at staff development and equity. Well, I guess maybe taking a step back, one of the things we did find from the survey and these discussions that the fairness really comes to a sense is there either a glass ceiling potentially for some of our staff? If we're talking about equity and diversity, does that maybe mean preferential treatment? Are we going to force people to make moves they don't want to move, and other things along those lines that gets to this sense of maybe this isn't fair? So really then getting to the two principles that we've come up with are really not that we come up with, but just found from these discussions, is one, and this ties in with the city succession planning, that we have a lot of staff who are very comfortable just doing what they're doing, and that's fine. We have staff that like their role but maybe want to grow their skills and develop in that role. We have others that maybe want to move horizontally just to try something new or develop some different skill sets. And we do have some that do want to advance into more of a leadership role as well. And any of those is perfectly fine based on what the person wants to do. So just recognizing that as a starting point. And then looking at equity, these discussions have really led to how do we have the one-on-one conversations with all of our staff to make sure we understand where they actually want to go, what are the resources or training they maybe need to get to where they want to go, and then recognizing that's going to be different for each person based on where they are now and where they're looking to move to. So having those discussions ongoing, that starts setting up some accountability and make sure that as managers, we're all making sure the training opportunities are there. There's some accountability for our staff to make sure they take advantage of those opportunities. And if we're successful moving forward, I think that really opens up the door to the truly equitable workplace where we have people who are prepared for jobs. When they do come open for promotion, we have staff that are prepared, they're ready for them, and I think then that sort of gets to a sense where we're treating people fairly as developing the staff to be set for a promotion. Then there's a level playing field when it comes time for the promotion. So it's really, really the goal is we want to see our staff get uplifted. We want to see that happen in an organic way, not a way that's forced or mandated, but an organic way that then leads to increased diversity, but without perceptions of either glass ceilings or preferential treatment or mandates or anything on those. So that's really been the heavy work for the last few months, is having these discussions and just in the process of bundling all that up right now. But I think it's really exciting. I think it does put us on a good place to move forward. We've got some quick wins, which are always nice, but I think this is the more meaningful work when it comes to building a culture that, a year or two from now, when we're talking with our staff and advancement opportunities and fairness, that hopefully everybody feels that they do have a chance to advance. It's going to be fair. Obviously we're just at the starting point right now, and there's a lot of work to do to go from conversations to actually making it happen. But I think that's the really exciting part for us coming up.